hopefully got my page up to see whether I never have my phone with me to check that it's, you know, working correctly.
No, it looks like it says it's live on Facebook here.
Does it?
Mm-hmm.
It says it is. Which takes a bit of time to come up though, doesn't it? Right. Okay. Apparently we're live. Let's see.
But whereabouts are you?
I'm on the South Coast. Yeah, we're live. Hello, everybody. I'm on the South Coast. Let me put it on gallery so we're both on together. There we go. Hopefully that works. I don't know if that actually does work on Facebook, whether you can see both people together. We'll see. Yes, it does. I'm watching rather belatedly. I can see us. Yes, so I'm on the South Coast, so we're probably pretty much as far apart as we could be in the country. Welcome, Finn. Welcome. Anybody that's joined or anybody that's joining. The lovely Finn Wycherley is a fellow She Means Business trainer with me. And we met in, was that earlier this year or last year? Everything's gone. I don't even know when it was.
I think it was last year.
Yeah, at Facebook HQ. But we had some training on up and coming stuff at Facebook and all the sort of various presentations that we give on an ongoing basis. Finn, do you want to give a little bit info about yourself? And then today we are going to talk about how to use Instagram to grow your business. And if anyone is live and wants with us and wants a review on their Instagram profile, Finn's going to do it straight away. So if anyone's got any questions, please come on. And I just need to see if I just need to keep an eye on it. So yeah, Finn, give us a bit of info. Tell us about yourself, and then
so I am Finn Wycherley. I run an agency called Supersize Media here in Edinburgh, capital Scotland. And so I've been in the business for the last 10 years. Before that, I worked in radio, journalism, and law for my sins.
Yeah, I was looking at your, just when we were exchanging emails, your mail closing and all your, I was like, wow, law and all these other journalism,
direct marketing.
How did that go from law to now running a marketing agency?
So it didn't seem like it made a good sync at the time. It just felt like the right thing to do. But as I've gone through all the different careers, everything that I've ever done kind of fits with what I need to know, you know. So when I'm working with clients, it's really good to be able to keep them on the right side of the law and make sure that they're being able to pitch into the journalists and especially into the radio shows, because I'm regularly on BBC radio and TV as well, talking about, you know, online business, digital marketing and social media and the digital economy as well. So you know, all of these things have been really, really useful. But when I was going from law into marketing, it was basically because I realized that when I was doing my law degree, I already had 2 kids before I started. I had another 2 by the time I finished. And then I had my 5th one a couple of years later after that. So having 5 kids was a bit of a career killer in law. So I decided that, you know, it was going to be easier for my family needs and my income needs to be able to be a bit much more flexible and freelancing and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what I've done until now. And then I've just built the business up around the kids' needs, around the family. And it's been magical for that. That's one of the reasons why I'm a mad fan for women setting up businesses, because you can, you know, adapt everything around what your family needs.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think we're both so involved with the She Means Business thing as well, aren't we? Because that is about getting upskilling women in social media and you know, and other tools for running a business. So yeah, so that's wow. I didn't know you. I knew you had kids. I didn't know you had 5 kids. So
Five
wow.
children, yeah. And
Yeah.
the youngest one, she just finished high school now. So I'm officially graduating from the school gate. Woo!
Yeah.
After like 32 years or something.
You won't know what to do with yourself.
I know. I'm even thinking about fostering, honestly. It's just part of my DNA now.
That's fantastic. Okay, all right. So we're going to talk about Instagram and getting the most out of Instagram for your business. So I was saying to you earlier, I found Instagram quite frustrating. I'm fully bought into Instagram. I love it. I use it a lot of the time. I actually use it for research these days. I have recently taken up with a fair amount of addiction to it, open water swimming.
Oh.
At the start, near the sort of like middle of lockdown, because I live on the coast, and so I've become obsessed with all things swimming, swimming costumes, wetsuits, all sorts of kit and other things, and it's a great place for researching products, services, and competitors to those. I find it great for that. So because then of course you get all the suggestions as well, don't you? So I love it for my own personal use, but from a business perspective, I find it quite frustrating in that I feel like it's 10 steps forward and 10 steps back a lot of the time with Instagram, because there's this whole follow unfollow thing going on. There's a definite, it's very hard to get engagement, I think, on Instagram, but it's all about that. And then there's so many different aspects to it now, because there's the feed, there's stories, there's live, there's IGTV, there's now reels, and so it's like, what the hell should anyone be doing? Because you physically can't do all that as well as Facebook, as well as Twitter, as well as everything else. Now that's another discussion in itself. Should you really be doing all those platforms? But give us your sort of like your thoughts and top tips on Instagram and how to get the best out of it. And if anyone comes on live and wants a review or some specific help, Finn's here to do that.
Yeah, so I think most businesses, once I manage to persuade them that they need to get onto Instagram, they generally suddenly decide after a couple of months, we want to prioritize Instagram over Facebook, because they find that the reactions and the interactions are a lot more engaging. Because as you know, if you put up a post on Facebook, you're likely to get like 2% of your fans actually seeing any of it. Yeah. Unless you've got a really good ad strategy, for example, and you understand, which stage of the buying process somebody might be in. So Facebook requires you to actually have some good marketing skills in order to make it work. So basically, in the early stages of most social media platforms, they allow everybody to just jump in there and then grow their business as fast as they can. And once all the social media platforms get to a certain point where they've got the numbers there, then they actually just start having to make it a lot more difficult for people to get their content seen. Yeah. And then they introduce the algorithms in order to make sure that when people are going onto their phones or onto their desktops and looking at their newsfeed, they're not going to be bombarded with all the garbage that businesses normally want to put up there. Because let's face it, most businesses want to go up there and say, check me, look at me, here's my 20% off, buy me, this is us doing a team hill walk, here's us at the barbecue. And it's always about me.
So basically what you're saying is businesses ruin it for everyone else. I mean, I kind of feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, because they've taken the old-fashioned marketing mindset into social media. And the key for social media is in the first word, social. You really have to take a completely different, 180-degree mindset shift in thinking about, okay, what do they want? What do they need? What are they really going to value? How much can I give away in order to make sure that I can actually build a community? So it's a bit like, when I say give away a lot of stuff, people are like, well, but that's not very cool. But it's like, you know, if you're a car engineer, car mechanic, for example, and you're giving everybody tips on how to change a carburetor, 90% of them are not going to go away and do it. They're going to go, right, I can see that he obviously, or she obviously understands what they're doing. So I'm just going to call them up and get them to do it for me. So that's the kind of principle behind it. And a lot of people who've come from, you know, an older generation or a traditional marketing background find it very, very difficult to get into that new mindset that's required.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And actually that conversation about giving information away for free is a conversation I have a lot with clients, and they say, but they're not going to ask me to do it then. And your car mechanic example is perfect, right? And I always say this to a couple of people I know that are accountants. I'm like, you need to be teaching and telling people more about the process and what they need to be thinking about with their accounts. I'm never ever going to want to do my accounts myself. I don't want to do it. I don't like numbers, but I have more trust in you as an accountancy firm if you do this.
Yeah, because that accountancy firm is reaching out, they're being useful, they're being informative, they're displaying their personality and things like that. And the same is for marketing. For us in the marketing business, I know that after having trained people on social media for the last 10 years, like literally 2% of them are actually going to implement.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people happy to turn up for like thousands and thousands of like free and paid marketing events, and even go on very, very expensive marketing courses. But the reality is only 3% will just totally dive into it and execute and then say, okay, what next? Whereas 90% of people will fumble around, giving it a kind of a half-assed approach, and then basically phone up and say, okay, I need some like one-to-one support. And then 10% of people won't even actually, you know, be bothered about any of the information. They're there that just for the jolly, or just for the networking, or just, you know, to be busy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a really important one. So the first thing is give value on Instagram. But even if you do that, do you feel that Instagram is the platform where you can really get relevant, good leads into your business from paying customers?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've seen it for myself with all the different clients that we put onto Instagram. It doesn't matter if they're a restaurant or if they're a law firm. Obviously, because my background is in law, I work with a lot of law firms. Yeah. And they're always like, oh, for goodness sake, we're not going on Instagram. That's for ladies and children. And so they're desperate to put up their latest property updates and stuff like that. And I'm like, stop, guys, stop. This is ridiculous. But once they have a lot of training, and they understand the mindset, and they understand the fact that they can reach out to whoever they want to, because the reality is, even if you want to spend a lot of time on LinkedIn or Twitter, the reality is those platforms have practically zero active members. You know, although LinkedIn likes to say, oh yeah, we're very fantastic, we've got nearly 700 million plus or whatever people signed up for LinkedIn, the reality is when you look at the charts for active daily users or active weekly users or active monthly users, it's not even on the charts. It's way behind Twitter. So we don't even call it a social marketing or a social networking platform. We call it like a kind of posting what do we call it, kind of post what's it called, those forums type, like not even a forum, it's like just a place where you go and post, but nobody ever sees it. So even Pinterest, for example, they don't call themselves a social networking platform. They call themselves a visual search engine platform. So you have to be careful about all the different definitions and where you want to spend time. So as I say to the lawyers, look, you can go onto Instagram and practically all of your customers, you know, under 45 are going to be there in general. And you can target them, you know, so you don't have to just post organically and hope for the best. That is a fool's game. You know, you can post to anybody. Say, for example, you want to speak to business entrepreneurs, or you want to speak to accountants, for example. You can actually target everybody who's an accountant, who lives within 20 miles of your city, who wants to be able to download a useful piece of information that's going to be relevant to them. It's a no-brainer. Whereas if you were going to do that on LinkedIn, you know, the minimum price for LinkedIn kind of ads is about 80 quid anyway.
Yeah.
You can get the same amount of reach on Facebook or Instagram for about £5.
Yeah. So, so I have comments I have sometimes from clients are, but our clients are not on Instagram. And I always say, are they human? You know, I think it's a bit of a misnomer that for some products or services, people think that they're not going to find them on Instagram. Do you have that sort of, I mean, with the lawyers, for instance, do they feel like, I guess it's depending on the law that they are practicing, what they're specialists in, but do you have that pushback from people that but they're just simply not on, they're not in the demographic? I mean, I think the demographic for Instagram is certainly changing, isn't it? It used to be much younger, and I think it's changing. But what do you say when you get that sort of pushback?
I normally just point them to all their competitors that are already having conversations with their audience.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. You know, if half of their competitors are on Instagram influencing their target audience, then, you know, what are they doing? Basically sitting in an office with a quill pen and an ancient typewriter going, oh no, but our customers prefer to be communicated by typewriter.
Oh, okay, right. So we've established everyone's on there. You can have authentic conversations, you can give value. What the hell should someone be doing with their Instagram profile? Because as I said at the start, there's feed, there's stories, there's now reels, there's live, there's IGTV. What's your recommendation?
So to just get started on Instagram, I figured that you have to always have an ad strategy, a good organic strategy. You need to be using stories as well, and you need to be using video. So if you're able to master all 5 of those tools, which is not a given for 90% of small businesses, it's going to take quite a while for them to build up the capacity to be able to implement a video strategy on a regular basis, then, you know, you're going to win. So normally I because people don't have all the time in the world, they don't even have a marketing department that they could, you know, say, right, get us on Instagram, because even the marketing department is still full of like the old school marketing people, and they're struggling with what the hell is Instagram is all about and how are we supposed to do it. So, but the main thing is that you can, you know, have a very short and useful, informative kind of video that tells people something useful that they need to know. If you're a law firm, for example, you might be talking about some of the issues around redundancies that are happening at the moment, some things to do with women's rights, Black Lives Matter. You know, all of these kinds of issues are going to be incredibly impressive, because most lawyers aren't on Instagram, and they're not being particularly effective. But if you're there and you're there to inspire and inform and educate, you know, people will clasp you onto their bosoms with hoops of steel, you know. If you're giving that incredibly useful information, and it doesn't even have to be expensive, you know, a talking head from one of the people in the kind of employment part of the organization will be able to do a talking head on the 5 things you need to know if you're threatened with redundancy during Corona. You know, people will share that like crazy. That would be a no-brainer. And even if you put it into a kind of carousel post where you spread out your main points across maybe 5 or 6 slides, for example, again, that would be shared like crazy. And once you've got that good engagement happening, you know that when you put a bit of budget behind it, maybe £5, £10, and target it to people who are working in your city, for example, then you know it's going to go like gangbusters. It's going to reach literally 160, 170,000 of your prospects. And you're giving them something which organically has already been established as an incredibly high value. So when you take it onto the ads platform, you're going to be able to make the social media platforms look great, because in the news feed, they're providing value. So as soon as you're providing value, then Instagram gets to feel really good, and everybody's, it's a virtuous circle.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas if you're just a law firm that says, if you're in trouble, come and speak to us, 0144, blah, 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 that kind of rubbish, which is their mindset way of approaching it.
Yeah.
They'll never get anywhere. And then, of course, if you're a restaurant, this is not just about B2B, it's about B2C. If you're a restaurant, you could be talking about the great eat out and help out kind of stuff, and all the stuff that's on the menu, which is so cheap at the moment. I mean, it's like your civic duty to go out there, and it's very difficult to choose. And yet, as far as I'm concerned, hardly anybody's talking about it in Edinburgh. I'm like, this is a huge marketing opportunity. What the hell is wrong with them? But obviously, they still haven't got their heads around this whole, share and be useful online.
Yeah,
you can actually have a strategy which is like, you just put one solid piece of content up on the newsfeed per week, and you can schedule it out months in advance if you need to, but then be super active on the stories. So that cuts down your marketing time, because obviously with small businesses, you don't want to be spending hours on marketing. You want to spend a very, very small amount of time as possible. So have your schedule of scheduled posts that are going to go out there, and then be active on the stories with Insta, with your ads budget too.
Talking of scheduling, do you have a favored scheduling tool for Instagram? I mean, I've tried quite a few of them. I mean, that's if you want to pre-prepare your posts, because it's quite difficult to do that on Instagram natively, to pre-schedule, isn't it? Although I know they've got Creator Studio now. But
Creator Studio is a godsend, because in the past you used to have to pay to be able to use any of those services. Yeah. Now you can use Creator Studio natively. So basically you go into Facebook, and then you into the search bar, you put in Creator Studio, and up pops a whole new platform. And then you just log in with your Facebook credentials, you log in with your Instagram credentials, and you schedule up all your newsfeed content. And I would always recommend that you're scheduling out a month in advance, so 4, 5, 6 pieces in advance. So therefore you can tick the box of Instagram is done. We've created that gorgeous video content. We're using all of our 30 hashtags. And if any of them seem to have a good bit of traction on them, then we're actually going to put an ads budget on it to make sure it actually gets out there as well. And then every day you're just doing a kind of day in the life of us working at home, or the city during lockdown, or contributing to some of the conversations that are happening, which are relevant to your business as well.
So Creator Studio, I think I might have to do a live separately on that, because I think that is a little known tool that people just don't know about.
And it's huge, because you're getting loads and loads of analytics in there as well. You're getting the analytics even on Instagram stories. They're going to be allowing you to schedule up Instagram stories very shortly as well. So it's going to become a major, major player in the Instagram firmament.
Do you think that, there's lots of other schedulers as well, which are paid? Well, some of them are free, got free versions. Have you got any others that you recommend, or that you have used? Or, I've used Plannerly in the past, which I quite like. And they're all up in their game on an ongoing basis. And obviously Tailwind has now got an Instagram element to it. But have you got any others that you recommend if people want to look at them?
We've used Later. But then there's like tons and tons of apps that we use alongside of Instagram. I'm just checking my phone here. So for example, there's all kinds of apps like Stories Edit. That's a really good app to use. Mojo is even recommended by Instagram as a really, really good app to use which allows you to create a lot more interesting stories and a newsfeed as well. What's that? Hashtag Explorer as well. Kira Kira, that's a fun one. That just makes everything super sparkly. Then you've got Word Swag, which allows you a whole range of different kind of word fonts and arrangements. You've got Cut Story that we use Planoly. Color Pop is fun. Layout, Magic Eye. You know, there's just millions of them.
And there's obviously also
the new one that I love, by the way, is Focus, Focos. And basically all of the, you know, half decent or even crappy photos that you're taking, you actually upload them onto Focus, and it's going to make them, you know, look like it's been taken by a professional, you know. It's so good. You know, that you've got that depth of field, you know, that you would get with a really high spec camera. You get that just by putting your photo through the Focus app.
Nice. Yeah, and there's also obviously all the official Instagram apps as well, because you've got Boomerang and you've got, oh god, I have my memory. What's the other ones here?
Layout,
that's it. Hyperlapse.
All of that stuff.
All of that stuff as well, which you can build your, which you can use for building out the different elements if you want to have, especially on video with Boomerang and with Hyperlapse. So that gives those different elements that you can then put into stories. But I guess it can start to become a little bit confusing, can't it? You've really got to figure out what you're trying to do and what you're trying to say and who you're trying to get to. So I think that's always the key for me. It's like, it's not one thing just saying, oh, we're going to do Instagram. It's like, what actually is your objective? Is your objective you just want to build your brand and you want to use it so people know who you are and what you're all about, they get to know you, or are you actively trying to get leads? And that really sort of like factors in then the type of content that you put out, doesn't it?
Totally, because I mean, if you're just thinking about just putting out content just because you want that tick box exercise, you know, you're gonna fire a social manager very quickly, or your social media intern, who's normally the cousin of your uncle or of your director or something like that. So they're going to be fired. They're going to be probably the first on the firing line during Corona, because all they've been doing is just updating regularly, which, as far as I'm concerned, was a strategy that died in 2015 during the pre-dinosaur age, as we call it in digital. So the main thing is you need to actually build that sales funnel. You know, what are you trying to achieve? How are you going to pick up those emails? You know, how are you going to get people to pick up the phone? And even that strategy seems to surprise so many people. It's like there's so many people that come from an English literature background or come from a journalism background and who are now on social media. So all of their content is about reporting, which I call traditional marketing mindset. And it's not even marketing, because the very principle of marketing is that everything that you do is about changing people's attitude and making people take action. If you are putting up a post which is about blah, 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 then nobody's taking an action, nobody's engaging, that is not even marketing, never mind social media. So everything that you do should be about thinking, okay, how do we get the lead? You know, are we sending them to our email? Are we getting them to actually download something that's going to be even more impressive for them? Because this is just a little breadcrumb, a scintillating breadcrumb that we're putting up here in the news feed or into the stories. And if you want to find out the real juicy stuff, then you hand over the email, and now we're really actually becoming a marketing machine.
Yeah.
But without that, you're just throwing all kinds of garbage into the news feed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is an important point, and one that I'm really, oh, my dog come to join.
The schnauzer.
He is. He's been out terrorizing the dog next door. So I think that's the important thing. Yeah, people are very intent on the sort of like the vanity metrics almost, aren't they? Building up the number of followers, building up the number of fans. And you've only got to think about when Instagram went down for like 24 hours. I think it was last year. I've lost all track of time. And the panic that ensued because people don't own their customer relationships. Because if you only rely on having fans and followers and you don't build your email list, you are at the mercy of a platform all the time. Now, they have lots of fantastic things about them, but you have to own the relationship with your clients,
Yeah,
your potential clients.
yeah. I mean, I call it, it's a bit like the dating game, you know. If you go into a dating environment, I'm saying nothing. I am single, but I have been dating for a long time. But anyway, if you're going into a dating environment, if you go into a nightclub, right, and you're dancing away, that's basically like arriving in Insta and you're looking all saucy, you're looking interesting and everything like that. But you're not going to pick up anybody's bloody telephone number unless you really think there's some kind of potential in the relationship. There's something that you're going to get out of it, whatever that it might be. It could be
you've had some sort of initial conversation. You've maybe bought each other a drink. You've had a bit of a chit chat. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you're not going to know that unless you've actually started deepening the relationship. If you're just having a bit of banter, that would be the equivalent of everything that's going on to social media. Once people are handing over their email, once people are handing over their telephone number, and it's not a fake one, then you can guarantee that, you know, they're actually interested in saying, all right, I'm a potential prospect of yours, whether it's in the dating or the business game. So I don't mind if you call me up and hustle me or whatever, because I'm kind of interested, but maybe not right now, but let's see how it goes type thing. So basically everything that you do on social media needs to be about getting the telephone number equivalent of the nightclub, and then making sure that you're getting that email. Because what happens is, for the clients, is that they realize that once we're in the emails, now we're talking prospects. Now we're talking hot leads, very hot leads. And this is where all the sales happen. You know, 9 times out of 10, the sales aren't necessarily happening straight direct off of the social media platform, but they are happening on the emails, because people have actually self-selected themselves as prospects. And the way that you can actually target the ads to your email list as well, and target ads to everybody who's been to your website, and then, you know, do those all kinds of ads jujitsu on them to make sure that you're always providing value, you're always being fascinating and educational, informative, and you're always offering value on the email list, then it is a no-brainer, because they've already said, I'm kind of interested, but not.
I'm doing a live on the Pixel, and retargeting and custom and lookalike and everything like that in a few weeks, I think. So, because that in itself, when you start talking to people and you say, have you got a Facebook pixel on your website, and it's like, what are you talking about? So that is always a really interesting conversation that you can then build up those, as you say, you can be so hyper targeted. And I make it my mission to be retargeted by loads of people, because it saves me hours of research.
Totally. And then the other fun thing is the people that say that they've got one, because, like, you know, when you challenge people, you say, oh, do you have this? And they're like, yeah, of course I've got that. But the thing is, you can go onto anybody's website, you can find out whether they've got a pixel, you can find out how much traffic they're getting, you can find out exactly what type of mechanism is driving all of their traffic. So you can actually go onto any of your competitor sites and find out, is it Facebook, or is it Pinterest, or is it email, or is it ads that's driving all the traffic to their website. So, I mean, before we get started working with any clients, we're always like doing all that due diligence to find out, you know, what's actually happening in this particular space. What are all the competitors doing? What is their best piece of content that they've done in the last 7 days? I mean, you can work all that stuff out, even just by using Facebook pages to watch.
Yeah.
You know, you set up 10 of your competitors, you can see the ones that are putting up 17 posts in the last 7 days, but the engagement was pants, so therefore the reach is garbage. And then you can see the other competitor that's put up 3 posts, or 2 posts even. They've put a bit of budget into it, they've made sure it's super valuable, the engagement's gone through the roof, and then the reach is massive. So when businesses are learning that, you don't have to work a strategy out from the back of an envelope or the skin of your teeth. You can actually research exactly what your competitors are doing and work out and benchmark the ones who are performing the best. And the ones that are performing the best are the ones who are doing the least amount of work, as far as I'm concerned, and getting the most amount of returns.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we've covered quite a lot there, because we kept going off at random topics as it comes up, because you do, right? So
keep it
summarizing the Instagram-ness is talk about something that's interesting to your audience and give them value. Consistency, and have your strategy worked out, what you're trying to do. Really understand what the posts are and what the content is that is engaging. And once you know that, double down on it with a small ad spend.
Yeah, and I would even add, just even if you as a small business are going to do it yourself, that's fine. You're going to do all the legwork and stuff like that. But I would strongly recommend you work with some kind of coach like yourself or myself or whatever, because that way you're spending like 2 hours a month. You're looking at what's working. You look at what the competitors are doing. You're prioritizing your activities for the next month, and it just takes the pressure off in terms of your marketing. But
yeah,
because if you've not got a marketing mindset, and most people don't, they find it excruciatingly difficult. It's like trying to get people to do accounts. In principle, it's English. Those words are English. Those numbers, we can understand what a number is. But trying to get the mindset to be able to implement the accounts is like bollocks. And I think a lot of people have been sold, pig in a poke. By thinking that, because it's free, everybody can do it. Actually, it's not, because you're going to spend hours and you're not going to get a good result, and that's not good for your business. So work with a coach, prioritize what's going to be the most efficient way that you can use your time and energy and budget, and then either do it or hand it to your intern or your cousin or some student who doesn't know what the hell they're doing, but because they can talk social media, suddenly they're a marketing expert. Do you know what I mean? So pay for a good coach, get the good strategy, and then you and your team can actually implement.
I feel another Facebook Live coming on, Finn, where we have a discussion about all of those things. Like my cousin's going to do it. All of those things. I mean, yeah. I do think the biggest misnomer is that getting customers for your business is free because of social media. It's the biggest myth and the most harmful myth, I think, around, because it isn't free. And there's a reason why Mark Zuckerberg is a billionaire multiple times over. And, the head of Twitter is as well, that these people they're not charities, and but what they're giving you is the ultimate platform for reaching exactly who you want to reach and not wasting your dollars like you would on a, in the past you might have thought from something a little less targeted. So I do think that is one of the biggest myths that people need to overcome, that social media is not free. To do it correctly, to get leads, to grow your business.
It's just like saying you're going to get your cousin's daughter or son to do your accounts. I'm like, go for it.
Yeah, I had a conversation like that with someone once when they said, that basically along the same lines of, well, why do I need you? Because, I can do whatever. 100%. And I think he was actually an accountant, and he said to me, and I said, oh, well, I don't need you either, do I? Because I can just use Xero and I can actually do it all myself. So I don't really need you. And he wasn't very happy with me. It's true, right? It's the same thing, but people don't view it the same because social media is so ubiquitous that they don't really value the skill and the experience and all of those are things that we've built up, that you might actually know what you're doing.
Yeah, but that's the problem, because we're going to see, with all the redundancies that are going to be happening right now, millions of social media people are going to be fired because they're not actually providing any value to the company. Okay.
Yeah.
And the reality is, because those companies were hiring people who didn't really know anything about marketing in the first place to just update regularly, which was never a good marketing strategy either.
I love this. I love this. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, ultimately, just to add on to the end of how to get the most out of Instagram, it's actually not about doing something in isolation. It's about having a marketing strategy and really knowing what your objectives are with that. And it comes back to that. I mean, I talk about customer journey all the time, and I know you do. And it's like, and I use the dating analogy slightly differently to the way you did it, but it's like you've gone out for coffee and now you're saying marry me. I mean, that's literally what happens a lot of the time, isn't it? You've got to work through that whole sort of like blueprint of people time checking you out, and it just doesn't happen. So without that built into your strategy and knowing where social media fits within that strategy, you're never going to achieve what you think you're going to achieve. Excellent. On that note, I think we should finish before we go off on too many more tangents.
I know.
Thank you so much, Finn. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you, Caroline. It was super fun.
Hopefully I'll see you again, actually for real, in person at some point.
Yeah, if we're allowed out of our bunkers.
All right. Well, thanks, Finn.
You go and enjoy the heat.
I will do. You enjoy the rain.
See you later.
Bye. Bye.